Picture this. You are on a classic summer road trip. The windows are rolled all the way down. The music is blasting, and you are cruising past endless stretches of sun-drenched American farmland. You look out the window, and you see a barn. It is red. You drive another 10 miles down the highway, and there is another barn standing in a field. It is also completely red. In fact, think of literally any cartoon, toy set, or picture book farm you ever saw as a kid. The barn is absolutely always red. But why? Did early farmers just have a weird, collective obsession with crimson? Were they trying to make these giant buildings super easy for their cows to see from a distance? Spoiler alert on that one. Cows are actually red-green colorblind, so that is definitely not it. The real reason is not about style or aesthetics at all. It is a centuries-old story of penny-pinching survival, sour milk, and literal rust. Today, we look at that iconic deep red color and just think of it as the ultimate country aesthetic. It is so deeply embedded in our daily farming life and our collective cultural consciousness that we do not even pause to question it. It feels warm, nostalgic, and entirely intentional. But centuries ago, the reality of building a farm was anything but a peaceful, picturesque dream. Early farmers faced a massive existential problem. They spent huge amounts of time, energy, and money building these enormous wooden structures to keep their precious livestock and harvested crops safe from the brutal elements. But raw, untreated wood rots, and it rots incredibly fast. Microscopic fungi, creeping moss, and the freezing dampness of harsh winters would absolutely devour a brand new barn in no time at all, if it was left unprotected. Now, you might be thinking, why did they not just paint the wood to protect it? Well, back then, actual commercial paint was an absolute luxury, reserved strictly for the wealthy. It was way too expensive for a humble, hard-working farmer. So, they had to invent a do-it-yourself wood sealant, using whatever random scraps they had lying around the farm. They took leftover, sour skimmed milk, mixed it with lime, the geological mineral, not the green citrus fruit, and added a healthy splash of linseed oil. When this bizarre concoction dried on the wood, it actually created a tough, hard, plastic-like coating. But to make this coating truly bulletproof, they needed something highly toxic to kill off the wood-eating fungi. Their ingenious, dirt-cheap solution, iron oxide, otherwise known as rust. They would literally scavenge rusted iron pieces or dig up iron-rich clay straight from the dirt and dump it directly into their milk mixture. On a microscopic level, the iron oxide acts as a remarkably powerful, impenetrable fungicide, stopping moss, mold, and rot dead in their tracks. And what exactly happens when you mix heavy amounts of rust into a pure white liquid? It undergoes a rapid chemical transformation, turning the entire batch into a deep, dark, rusty crimson. Fast forward to the late 1800s. Commercial paint finally became widely manufactured, packaged, and available to the general public. But guess what? Red paint was still the absolute cheapest color to produce on the market, precisely because the core ingredient, iron oxide, was so incredibly abundant and cheap to extract from the earth. Because it was the most affordable and effective option available, farmers stuck with exactly what they knew. This single, dirt-cheap chemical recipe ended up blanketing the entire American, and eventually global, countryside in brilliant red. Today, we have incredibly advanced, synthetic weatherproof paints in literally every color imaginable. You could paint a barn neon purple or bright pink if you really wanted to. But the tradition had already taken deep root. What started as a desperate, messy survival tactic to stop wood from rotting simply became the unquestioned standard. The red barn was no longer just a chemical necessity. It became the ultimate symbol of the farm itself. So, take a second to let that sink in. We build these massive visual traditions around things we just assume were artistic choices. But so often, the beautiful world around us was actually sculpted by sheer, practical necessity. The next time you are driving down a country road and you pass one of those classic structures, you will know the secret. You are not just looking at a nostalgic paint job. You are looking at a towering monument to brilliant, dirty chemistry.